I'm wearing the same t-shirt here in every single video now because this is the thickest. This is basically my winter t-shirt and I cannot wear this in summertime at all here. You're sweating to death. Guys, welcome back to the Off-Grid Garage here in not so sunny Australia anymore. Pitch black outside. It is a late night show, guys. Welcome back. The battery is on 34% still. That is great. But we are discharging with 3.2 kilowatts. That's not so great. Alright, in tonight's video we wanna light. Thanks. We wanna have a look at this beauty. I actually wanted to mount the wheels on this vertical do-it-yourself box here as the opening scene of this video, but then I realized I have to open the whole case because the casters are obviously inside in a box. But I didn't want to open it without camera and don't want to spoil it for both of us. So I probably do the opening scene later when we open this box here and then put it at the beginning of this video. But at the moment there are no wheels on this box here. Guys, this is the very newest edition of the Yixiang do-it-yourself box, a vertical do-it-yourself box. And let me know in the comments, what do you think about this color? It is a light to medium gray and I think it looks fantastic. I really love this color. And we've got nice rounded corners again, like here, like in the eel boxes, right? Or the Seplos vertical do-it-yourself box, they had rounded corners as well. Looks really nice and of a high quality. Obviously a JK BMS inside, power button, the 250 amp circuit breaker. Communication board for the JK BMS. And look at this ventilation situation on both sides of the box. Wow. Nice sturdy side handles. And here on the other side we've got all the connections, 2 positive, 2 negative, behind a plexiglass. That's actually a nice feature. And look at these hooks down there. Yeah. This is for cable ties, to organize the cables when they go from the negative down here. You can actually zip tie them to the case and they are not coming into the way of the positive cables. Yeah, and they are in the top as well. Nice feature, Yixiang. Oh. But here I see countersunk screws, but the actual plexiglass is not countersunk. So they're actually sticking out a little bit. Just a minor detail which catches my eyes. Yeah, so far very nice build. No quality issues with the paint or quality of the box so far. This all looks really nice and well built. See the panel gap here? Perfectly straight and consistent all the way down to the bottom. Nice. Okay, let's take off these screws here and have a look what's inside. Don't want to spend too much time with the outside. Ooh, nice one. JK BMS, presumably a 200 amp BMS. All flexible bus bars. We've got a fuse up here. The circuit breaker, 200 amp, not 250 as I said. And all the connections are torqued and marked. There's a loose connection straight away. And here's another one. But look how spacey this is here. Wow. And even here at the front, I can easily stick my whole hand inside the box. There's so much airflow. Nice. Alright, let's take off the front panel as well. Oh, we've got a nice epoxy insulation cover to cover all the terminals and bus bars. That is nice. Little booklet with a printed manual. Alright, what do we have here? Yes, battery heating mats. A lot of sticky tape and 2 really thick sticky tapes. Wow, what is that for? More sticky tape. Epoxy sheets and 2 boxes in here. One has got the wheels inside and the other one is the JK BMS box with all the other accessories. There are probably some cables inside and screws and bus bars, terminal nuts. Okay, we have to undo these rails here first and get rid of the PCB holder. Houston, we've got a problem here. See these two screws here holding the PCB holder? They are screwed in from the bottom of the battery. How do I... Well, we have to lay it flat apparently. I can already see a problem coming towards us. Yeah, okay, the screws are definitely... I don't think this is a great solution actually. Because when you install this box here, you want to stand it up and then put the batteries in and stack them on top of each other. Well, if you put the box on the back, like here now, yeah, you can easily put all the batteries in and get everything organized and done and connected and so. But then you need a second person actually to lift up the box. Because you still need access to these two screws. And you can only put them back in once the cells are all in. I don't know why they have not put in the screws from up here. Anyway, while we are here, let's have a look at the PCB. Look how far these screws are away from the tracks now. That is amazing. It took us only 3 years or so, to get all these installers now to use better PCBs. Many manufacturers of these PCBs here, they put the tracks so close to the screws, to the mounting screws, and it could happen that a screw got contact with one of the tracks. So you had actually the voltage of one of the cells, a random cell in your battery pack, on the case. But now this is much better. There's lots of space. So thankfully they have fixed up these PCBs now. At least here in the Yixiang box. Alright, let's have a quick look. Yeah, see. Yeah, my wheels inside. Ooh, we've got a fire extinguisher as well. Ah, that's what the hole is for. Oh, here, that sits in the inside of the lid. There are two studs here, and this is where the fire extinguisher goes. It doesn't need any electrical connection or so. Lots of screws in here. Flexible bus bars for double pole batteries. Balance cables for the JKBMS, which we don't need here. LAN cable and relay contact. And the usual zip ties. Just loose in this box here. Oh, handles for the top. That's hard plastic, no rubber. But they've got a nice brake. Okay, let me film the entrance scene now where I mount these wheels to the box. They are moving okay, but because it's a hard plastic wheel, they are a bit loud and bumpy. It's nothing in comparison to the rollers Gobel Power uses. Gobel Power still makes the best rollers for the do-it-yourself boxes. Nice, smooth, quiet, amazing. But yeah, these ones definitely do the job. I can see a bit of paint scratches in here because these boxes were loose inside and they were just bumping around during transport and scratching the paint a bit here. See down there in the corner? Yeah, there are some scratches over here as well inside. Not that it matters much, but well, there's always the consideration when you pack such a box here. If you want to use more foam to protect all the components, or if you use less foam, maybe you can find a cardboard solution or something to prevent these boxes, especially the ones with the wheels, fairly heavy, and during transport it just bangs around and scratches the nice paint, which is really a shame. Apart from that, you can see the welding here. There's no issues with the paint inside. As in some other boxes where we have seen the paint is a bit thin, but here it seems like fully painted even inside there. And that is actually quite interesting. The batteries are not sitting in the middle here. You can see this frame here is a lot thicker than the one on this side. So cold air is coming in this way, and then it well, it can't get out anymore because these ones are covered by the epoxy. It is actually trapped inside. Is there an opening to the top? No, there isn't. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So obviously all these ventilation holes here are to, I don't know, it creates a bit of an airflow inside this chamber here. But this is not directly connected to the batteries because of the epoxy sheet. And the same on this side here. So I'm not sure if it's actually worth putting all these holes inside this case. Apart from all the insects which will get into these holes and make a mess inside here. Alright, I'm just having a quick look at the manual they are providing. It explains every single step with a short text and also a photo. Some of these sentences are a bit weird translated or even incomplete. Test the cells, make sure the voltage is what? Or place batteries in the box in series, order is consistent. What does that mean? Place EVA between cells, alright. We've got a diagram here with the positive and negative terminals of the cells, so you know exactly how to put them in the case. So we have to take out the part with the circuit breaker again, and I think that's why these connections are also loose, because you have to take them off anyway again. So no loose connections inside this box, it is all good. Connect the flexible bus bars, use a torque between 4 and 6 Newton meters for the cells, plug in the BMS, install the fire extinguisher, put the cover back on, top handles, done. Well, actually there's one step missing. Get Andy to help you standing up this box in a vertical position. One Andy cannot do this safely. Yeah, apart from a few misspellings and inconsistent sentences, it seems to be straightforward. The only thing I'm missing is it says place EVA between cells. But we have these so obviously lots of EVA tape. But what about these two thick ones here? Are they going into the bottom or at the top? Because I would be concerned in the bottom here that the weight of the cells is actually compressing this EVA tape over time, and then you can get tension on the bus bars and also terminals. So, not sure. It definitely doesn't say in the manual. Well, I would say give this a try on one side and see how this all fits together. And it actually happens by accident that I have 8 beautiful and nice MB31 cells here from our friends from Yixiang as well. And we don't want to do a battery review here, but I have seen when I unpacked these ones how high quality cells these are. Look at the folding of the heat shrink. Beautiful. See this triangle here? I've seen many other cells where this looks really, really shitty. Nicely welded studs. Really high quality cells. These ones come with covers, these ones don't. These ones are from a newer delivery. I had these ones here delivered last year and they came about 6 months later. Yeah, once we install them into a case, we will do a full capacity test, of course, and have a detailed look. But so far what I've seen here, amazing quality. Of course, I linked them down below with a 10% discount code. I don't know if they do discounts, I don't know. So the manual actually says remove the circuit breaker and communication board, communication panel, a couple of screws out here, and then we can take out the whole unit. And that's why we need to remove this bus bar connection, otherwise we couldn't take it out. And of course communication cable need to go as well. No big deal, because now we are actually getting access to the screws for the compression plate. And these were obviously covered by this module. And it says in the manual we don't need to take out the compression plate, we just need to lose these screws. So let's do so. Is there another one? Yep, down there. Very positive. We've got this middle support here in between the cells. Gives us a nice and even compression here of the cells from the top. Okay, I've got all 8 cells now installed into this case, and we can see the massive gap here at the top, and I think this is where the actual this thick, geez, you get out of the way here, this epoxy goes in. And another insulation plate to the top. See, the compression plate is already sitting here on the frame, so I cannot actually go any further down, and there's still a lot of space in between. I don't know, I think I would probably use some epoxy sheets in between the cells And this is one reason why I don't like these vertical boxes. Especially when we use this EVA tape in between. This actually compresses down here a lot more than it compresses up here, for example. Just because of the pure weight of all these cells here pushing down on this epoxy sheet and even further on this one. So these terminals actually coming together over time a bit, while these ones up here don't. Yeah, and you're creating a bit of tension, a bit of force on these terminals. Even the bus bars are flexible, but still. So I would probably rather design such a case without EVA tape in between the cells and only use these epoxy sheets because they don't compress. So I guess this whole case could be a bit shorter, and then it would accommodate enough space for these epoxy sheets in between the cells instead of the EVA tape. I know the EVA tape in between the cells is supposed to compensate for expansion and shrinking of the cells during charging and discharging. But man, we already have 10, 20, 30, 35, 40 kilos on this bottom EVA tape, just alone from the weight of the cells. And then MB31 cells should never be installed lying on the side. They can only be used upright. You probably have seen the let me start the computer here. I want to show you the specification sheet of the MB31 cells quickly. Alright, very quickly here. This has nothing to do with the Yixiang vertical box here. It is about the battery modules from EVE. You can see here the product specifications, and this is for the MB31 cells. Now you can see the specifications here: 314 ampere hour, 3.2 volts, 1004 watt hours, and so on. So, and if you go further down, here it is, under 13, it says, the battery modules must be installed or stored upright in accordance with the design state, and it is strictly forbidden to put it on its side or upside down. Yeah, installation and storage. Do not put them on the side. This is the first time we ever see a manufacturer actually specifying the position or the orientation of the cell. And I've never read this before. This is only valid for the MB31 so far. But for me, it makes a lot of sense. I'll link this document down below so you can have a look for yourself. Okay, back to the Yixiang box. Okay, there's a bit of a problem here with the gap at the top. Even if I tighten this compression plate now, there's no compression on the cells. Not that we need it, but they're all loose inside the case. So I'm not sure what the deal is with this one here. I'll have to ask Yixiang what the actual design purpose of this was. And we can also see these bus bars here coming from the BMS are actually not made. Oh, actually, yes. Yeah, you can just bend them around like this. So now they fit. Forget about what I just said. And of course, we also want to have a look at this fuse up here, because I haven't read anything in the manual. This plastic cover needs to go. It's a 200 amp fuse. Why is there a 200 amp circuit breaker and a 200 amp fuse in here? The fuse is clearly there for shortcut. I know, the breaker as well, but the breaker is also there for over temperature, thermal triggering, and over current. Just from a pure design perspective, with a 200 amp circuit breaker in this box here, I would have made this one at least 300 amps or even maybe 400 amps to ensure this only triggers here if there's a short. But let me know in the comments what you think about this. But I cannot see any voltage rating here. Maybe it's something on the other side. See, this is a 200 amp fuse, and there's nothing else printed on this fuse. Nothing. So I don't think this is actually rated for voltages over 32 volts. Yeah, so I don't know if this one is actually rated for 48 volts or higher. I doubt it is. Alright, I've got my torque adapter here, and I want to retighten all these screws inside the box here and see if they have a consistent torque. So this actually ensures that the manufacturer of these boxes have used a torque wrench to tighten all these screws and not just mark them off because it looks nice and Andy likes it. So let's start with the first one. Wow, they are really tight. I'm at 10, the case is moving. I'm at 10 Newton meters. There we go. Around 10 Newton meters. Yeah, here the same. Yep. 9.5. Yep, 10 Newton meters. And I'm trying these two here as well. Yep, 8. Around 8 Newton meters. Yeah, this one as well. Perfect. Well done, Yixiang. Now I really shouldn't praise them because this should be standard and to be expected. And I've just had a look at the heating pads here, which I have not installed at the moment. But this one is the positive and this one is the negative going to the BMS. And these two are connected in series. But there's no further thermal safety device in between. And no fuse. This one is battery main positive, no fuse into the heating pads and from there and directly into the BMS. So this circuit is not fused and they also should have a safety thermal switch in between just in case the control circuit in the BMS plays up and keeps heating the batteries. This thermal safety switch in between turns off this circuit just in case it gets too hot. When we installed the ear battery the last time, I thought this is a temperature sensor actually. But as you said in the comments, it is not a temperature sensor, it is a safety device. In case for whatever reason the control mechanism inside the BMS plays up and keeps heating the batteries, this thermal switch actually disconnects at about 60 degrees or something. This is completely missing here. And as I said, no fuse. I would like to see a fuse in here. We put one in the eel box. But these devices, they should have a fuse for this circuit, please. So I just unscrewed the circuit breaker here from this bracket. I wanted to have a look at the specifications because there's nothing on the case anywhere. It is all on the front. So we've got an ICU here of 25 kiloamps breaking capacity, and this is actually sufficient for such a battery. It is in line with the T-class fuse, maybe a bit better even. Yeah, and as I said, this is a 200 amp circuit breaker, not a 250. And we can also see the green marks here. So these connections have been torqued and tested. All right, my friends, I think that's it for testing the Yixiang do-it-yourself vertical box. As you have seen, there are a couple of issues with this box, certain design flaws. And I really don't understand why this happens, for example, yeah? This here. Why do we need to get access to the screws of the compression plate if this one has like 15 millimeters of space here at the top without any compression at all? I mean, the dimensions of these cells have not changed in the last how many years? So why not tell your trainee or your apprentice in your company, get 8 of these cells, put them in and see if they fit. And obviously they don't. Look at this. I'm getting half my hand in here. I don't understand why we still have this problem. The dimensions of all these cells are fixed. And still some companies, they put EVA tape in between or epoxy sheet or both. And then we still have some kind of issues with compression plate and calculating the torque and stuff like this. Why is it so hard to make your case exactly in the dimensions these cells need to have the perfect compression? Can't be that hard. Yeah, and then we've got the issue with the ANL fuse, because this whole holder fuse set here looks like a $1.30 part from AliExpress. And I really doubt this is rated for 80 volt DC. And we've got these screws here. I would like to see them actually put in from this side. So we don't have to lay down the box here when installing these batteries. It makes it really, really hard to lift it up again by yourself with the wheels underneath. But this can be avoided by changing this small design and putting the screws in from here into this bottom frame. And then we have this issue here with the heating pads. They need a fuse and a thermal safety device in between, just in case the BMS doesn't turn off and it gets too hot inside the box. These need to be physically disconnected somehow. Yeah, then we talked about all these ventilation holes here. I'm not 100% sure what the purpose is actually, because there's no gap to get an airflow in the BMS compartment up here. I don't know what the thought process was with all these holes left and right. Ah, here, I haven't shown you this. You have to have a look. Look at this amazing, beautiful display holder here in this battery case. We need to find something positive now to end the video, and this holder is amazing. Yeah, piece of metal just folded around, welded onto the front panel, and then the display slides in from the front. These 4 screws are securing it. We've got access to this connector, we've got access to the SD card slot to flash the firmware on these displays, which we will do in a video very soon. Fire extinguisher goes here in the front. Nice. I very much like the epoxy cover going over all your cell terminals and bus bars and all open connections when you open the case. Nice detail. I would like to see this in all boxes. Yeah, the manual is pretty good, but it needs some refinement with the wording and some more clarification how this EVA tape works, especially with a thick one. Yeah, just some minor things, but having a manual is actually good. Another very positive point are these PCBs here, especially the temperature sensors. You can see they've put a ring lock at the end of the temperature sensors. And this is actually the preferred method to measure the cell temperature. Yeah, you can see this here for the MB56 cell, for example. EVE has especially stated to measure the temperature at the pole. And this is what we achieve with such a solution. So there's no way we have temperature sensors just flopping around and measuring the case temperature inside the box on 4 different locations. If you want to measure the cell temperature, ring lock, and then it goes onto a terminal. So very good, Yixiang. I like this solution. Yeah, apart from that, everything else is pretty standard. Flexible bus bars instead of cables. Looks nice, makes perfectly sense. The PCBs have now improved a lot. These screws are not close to any tracks anymore, so that's nice to see. And the overall case is absolutely stunning. Yeah, welding spots are nicely covered with paint. There are no areas inside the box which have a thin paint. So overall I would give this box here a... But we don't use the 5 rocks anymore. We've got something better now. I will show you in a future video. But if we would still use the rocks, probably a 2 out of 5. Because by now I'm really expecting all these manufacturers doing these do-it-yourself boxes that they are not having these issues anymore, or not using wrong fuses, yeah, the heating pad situation, and a bit sloppy translated manuals. And they keep producing these do-it-yourself kits in version 4 and version 5 and version 6 and version 7 and say, here Andy, here's a new box. Is that good enough now? Is that good? Do I get a good rating? No, you don't. Because with all this knowledge out there about these do-it-yourself kits, it should be fairly easy to build the perfect one and not making the same mistakes again and again and again and again and again. Version 8 still has the same problems, or new problems, or different problems. This is just a metal enclosure. I mean, they are sending people into space. Just think about they would deliver such a work quality when doing so. Not many people would return. Alright my friends, leave your comments down below. What do you think about the do-it-yourself box from Yixiang? Oh, I haven't talked about this one. This one is $399 US. So if you're interested, there is a link down in the video description. And thank you very much for 111,164. I have missed it. I've missed the 111,111 subscribers. Guys, thank you so very much for that. Also, thank you very much for all these very generous donations I have received. There are many ways to support the channel. Thank you very much. Without you, these videos wouldn't be possible. And as you know, please do not send me emails. I'm getting still far too many emails. I'm unable to read them or even replying to them. Please leave all your comments and questions down under the videos. Guys, and until the next video when we go back to the JKBMS, because there is a new firmware update and I want to show you what has changed actually. So yeah, until then, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye bye. Ah, yeah, Yixiang also said they might be available in different colors then to choose from. Ooh! Now finally get my pink battery case then.